And we wanted to make sure that the documentary felt like an LB album. It didn't make sense to us if you watched this documentary and it didn't feel like the guys. It didn't feel like the music. It had to be as transferable creatively as possible. So we had that. That was very intended, that you watch this and you laugh and you get the down-to-earth human element that you get in an LB album, just in documentary form.
Dead in Hip Hop Conversations. Today we're talking about Little Brother, May the Lord Watch. Got the whole crew with me, and I got somebody that was behind the scenes doing the thing on that documentary. Yo, you seen him before?
What's happening, guys? It feels good to see everybody, to be back with the Dead End Gang. Thank y'all for coming out to the screening. That was amazing to see everybody.
Appreciate you inviting us, bro.
Of course, like that, cool. I had to have y'all there. So
appreciate the invite,
to come sit down and talk about it. You know, this was a nice surprise. King hit me like, "Yo, can you pull up on Wednesday?" Of course, I can pull up. Y'all pulled up on me, man. I got to return the favor.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's what's up.
Glad you're here.
I know you mentioned you said you was gonna be on a road, so I didn't realize you were back off the road from.
Just got back right before Thanksgiving. Cool. Atlanta was the second screening. We did DC, Atlanta, then we went to LA, New York, and then finished it in Durham. Then we went right into Thanksgiving. Dropped it on Black Friday. I've been home ever since.
Out of all of those cities, which one would you say had like the most turnout?
Atlanta had the biggest seats. And that only happened because the Plaza Theater where we hosted the screening at only had two options. They had a smaller option, a bigger option. And originally Fonte he figured smaller. And I had to call him and be like, bro, I'm at home. Like I need more seats. Because I don't need people yelling at me about how they couldn't get in.
Right.
But then it's 300 seats. I was like, that's a lot of people. We had a great turnout though. So that was the one with the most people.
That's what's up.
But every city kind of had their own kind of like flavor. DC, we were in an actual hotel. They had a cinema room. So smaller, but very like intimate and cool, very cozy. LA was at like a Cinemax, like a movie theater, like in a mall area. So we in the theater with the Taylor Swifts and the Marvels. So that felt crazy. That kind of had literally I had a homie of mine from Twitter that came to the movie theater to see something else. Did not know about the LB screening.
Yeah. And
then was like, yo. He literally just saw me and was like, what are you doing here?
Wow.
I was like, oh, you here for the screening? He was like, no.
What screening?
Bro, like really, I'm here to see Marvel.
That happened here. Crazy. Remember?
Yes, I'm telling you. It happened back to back. Yeah. The guy said he came to the movie theater to see something else. Saw Big Pooh and was like, changed his movie. Same thing happened in LA. He decided to changed his movie ticket to 6:45, sat in, watched the whole documentary with us, loved it. Then we went to New York, which was the public library, which was great. We had an amazing turnout in New York. Good laughs in New York too. Like people was really, really enjoying the animation in New York. And then we had a double screening in Durham because
that's the hometown right there. Yeah.
They was like, we can't just do one. We can't fit all these people. So we doubled it up. Both screenings had an amazing turnout. So
was Fonte at that one?
Yep, he showed up for the last one. He couldn't hit the other dates, but he made sure to be there for the homecoming show. And it was just a movie.
Yeah,
it was a movie.
I bet it was. Did y'all go? It's like what a Book of Hope is, or y'all went somewhere else?
It's another.
Oh, okay.
It's another library who they were like, man, we competing.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
we got to compete with Hove, so they were just glad to have another like hip hop story being told in their library. And we just had a really great conversation about the value of making sure your library reflects the people in the city, reflect the circumstances of culture. Like the circumstance this year is hip hop turned 50, so it's like you can't ignore that. You can't pretend like that's not important to people.
Did you guys pick this year because it was the 50th anniversary?
No.
Okay.
It happened. It just happened. Something we've been talking about during the screenings was the documentary starts, as far as like the process goes, begins in like 2019, 2020. They made two prior versions before this one. And they were like, they just weren't right. So last year we started shooting the interviews for the version that came out. They brought me in to help with the story. So after a year of shooting and then a year of editing, I thought it was gonna come out this year because we were still trying to make things happen. The animation was something that came in like last minute, like very, very late.
I remember you saying that.
So seeing how things, like I think maybe in August, September we started talking about a November release, but it still seemed pretty far off. We didn't have sound yet. We didn't have color yet. So in my mind, I was like, man, we might drop in January. But all of a sudden, it's just like colors here, sounds here, animations here, screenings are set up. It's like, oh, this thing's coming out.
I kind of thought it was released like this on purpose because they had a block party earlier this year that represent them being in the game for 20 years. So this is the 20th year.
This is their 20th year.
Since the listening debut. So I thought it was just kind of all...
It was the promise. They promised they would be out this year. But if you would have asked them in August, like, we gonna keep that promise? Like, we hope so. They were adamant about it being this year, and I understand why. But again, when you're working on something and it's not done, it's not 100% this is finished, you don't know when it'll be published, when people are going to see it. So when it did come time for us to hit the road and the first 60, 70 people in DC saw it, I was like, oh, people are about to see this. This is real. And then the reception, which is so good, it makes you more comfortable about more and more people seeing it. And I will tell you, I did not know we were going to have a first week like this. Like, I think 85K. I didn't know that was going to happen. I was hoping for 30. I put out YouTube videos before. I put stuff out on YouTube before. They've done all right.
Are you talking about 80K views on the YouTube video?
Yeah. No, I didn't anticipate that would be the reception. Again, everything was happening so fast that by the time we got to the end of the screenings, that's like 100-some people in every city. You end with 800 people seeing it. That's a nice amount of people, if you ask me. You get 800 people see anything, that's great. But you don't know what happens when it's available to everybody. LB fans are loyal. Okay, these are some loyal fans. But I never had a number. I never had a head count of like how many people should we be anticipating. And I think they just came out and man, like a block party. Like they really showed up for the gang. And I really appreciate everybody that has watched and shared and supported, donated. It's been a incredible experience.
Y'all still accepting donations on it?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Where y'all accepting donations before we get too deep into this conversation?
There's an SDF fund that you can actually see in the description for the video. They help fund Southern documentaries. And they came in very early, supported us, and allowed us to set up a donation, especially because we did everything ourselves. Like this was self-funded across the board. So it's just a very nice way for people to give back to the film. Like as direct as possible. There's no, approvals. Like this is, unstepped on, untouched. There's no streaming service. There's no, Big Brother involved in Little Brother doc. It's literally just me, Holland, Tay, Pooh. Put this together, and SDF supported, and they just accepting donations. So tax deductible if you got some money. You know what I'm saying? You trying to get a little tax write off, man. Go ahead.
We'll drop it in the
piss on the collection plate. Yeah.
I don't think it was just Little Brother fans that watched this. A couple of the people that messaged me about it, they were kind of like casual Little Brother fans, but it was like the word of mouth ever since that Friday was crazy. Like I saw people on Twitter talking about it, people on Facebook talking about it, and again, it wasn't even like, oh, I've been waiting on a Little Brother documentary. It's like, yo, have you watched this? Like, it's a beautiful documentary.
That's impressive.
And I'm not saying that because it's you. You know me, I'll tell you if this shit was whack.
That's why when you weren't at the screening, I was like, I might be lucky.
I would tell you if it was trash, but no, man, it's a beautiful story. It was nice to hear, because I was around in those days when they were fighting on Twitter and shit. And it was nice to actually hear the story from their mouths, especially chronologically. But I promise you, by the end of it, I was like, God damn, I love these guys. I've never met them, don't know them, but they just seem like the most genuine friends making music. And yeah, man, it was beautiful to watch. It really was.
I love that. And you're right. I don't want to sit here and say that it's just LB fans. A lot of people from all walks of life have watched this thing. I think because it's a good story.
It's just a good story, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the way y'all told it too.
Yeah, y'all did a really good job with that, especially the questions asked, the way it was edited. I loved the animation. I don't know whose idea that was, but whoever's idea that was brilliant.
They said they did that last minute.
That was last minute.
I was here when he said that about 10 minutes ago.
But I was here. But it wasn't.
He tried to stunt. He was at the thing and I wasn't. But nah, that was one of my favorite elements.
There was another idea that was supposed to be in place of the animation that could not come together. So the idea was like, oh, let's get some animators. Fonte found the animation house, and they came back with like just the best ideas, and it just really brought a new color to it. Just watching people react to it was amazing. Like, they're funny. So yeah, I'm glad you got the same kind of experience that we got, even though you didn't get a chance to watch it with everybody. Like, you got the same kind of reception.
Yeah, it felt very Little Brother. Because, you know, the album has the skits and all that.
No, that's
and the cartoons that were in there, it really felt like that would have been part of like their music videos or something. And they were just so well done. It was hilarious. It looked like them.
Right.
It almost acted like them. You know, it was dope.
Very fluid. And we wanted to make sure that the documentary felt like an LB album. It didn't make sense to us if you watched this documentary and it didn't feel like the guys. It didn't feel like the music. It had to be as transferable creatively as possible. So we had that was very intended, that you watch this and you laugh and you get the down to earth human element that you get in the LB album, just in documentary form.
Is that partly why you called it May the Lord Watch? Or what was the reason why?
That's a good question. I think we just knew when we did the story, it was going to be from birth to May the Lord Watch. As far as explaining how this group came together, how they broke up, how they got back together. And, Fonte always said that, the name came from that if we can get back together, it had to be the Lord. So I feel like the documentary is like the same thing. It had to be the Lord, man. 5 years, 3 different versions for this thing to even come out. Like, we have to be blessed.
Because I remember, like, those moments, those hip-hop moments, bro. Like, I remember when Fonte went off like that.
You do remember?
It's so crazy. Like, and I remember when like they broke up, and I was like, "Yo, I can't believe this shit just happened. There's no way they're not together." Like that shit hit me. And I was definitely pleased that they came back. But it was also kind of good to kind of hear the stories, from their mouths about what happened in detail, some extra detail that we didn't have, but. Yeah, it was almost like reliving those moments all over again, which was so dope with additional content.
I had somebody tell me they did not know that Fonte Twitter video. They was like, I don't remember that. But they're younger. They were like 23.
I think I even saw it. I don't even know if I was on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, I saw it somehow.
You just caught wind of it.
No, that video was everywhere.
It was, bro.
I don't feel like it was like the way those things happen now, where it's like this morbid curiosity. I think we were just sad. Because we all thought that they were like the best of friends. And I wasn't aware of Ninth not really being that involved. I thought they were just 3 best friends making music. I vividly remember people in the comments were like, y'all don't do this. Don't do this. Please don't do this. It wasn't like get him, Fonte. Fuck them niggas. It was like, no, y'all don't do this.
Don't do this.
And I felt that way. I didn't leave any comments, but I was like, damn, bro, I hope y'all fix this. I really do.
I still think one of the most amazing thing about hip hop is you can see somebody with a Source magazine and know, oh, that's my boy.
I love that part.
We haven't even spoke yet, but the fact that you got that on you let me know, okay, we gonna click. So I do think in a lot of ways they were best friends because of music. Music really brought them together. But I think it takes a lot more to maintain a relationship and a friendship than just like in the same albums or even working on an album together, touring together. These things will keep us close, but what will help us maintain our friendship? Good communication, empathy, understanding, growing up. Like these are all things you have to do to maintain relationships. So to see their journey, I feel like it really reminds you of what it looks like to grow up with people and how you have to be if you want to keep people in your life.
That was another one of the most beautiful moments on the documentary, was when they talked about getting back together. And it was like, we didn't even talk about doing an album for a couple of years. We had to relearn each other. That's a friend. Like, that's not just a bandmate. Like, typically you hear these stories like, man, we got back together and started hanging out again. We got back in the studio immediately. They were like, nah, we wanted to become friends again.
It was bigger than music.
This sounds corny, but even when you look at the hugs, you can tell this isn't no like hip hop dap hug. It was like you're man, my fucking brother. I love you.
It's not
I've
fake.
missed you. And that's something that came through in the music. If this was Raekwon and Method Man fighting on Twitter, I don't think it would have got the same response. He'd be like, yo, man, this is fucked up. Y'all woo-woos for the fix. But
facts.
With these guys, it was like, nah, man, this is
this can't happen.
This is like grandma's table at Thanksgiving. Y'all can't be over here fighting like this. So I'm so happy. I was so happy to see them get back together.
When you get to the end of the movie, I still watch it now and be like, they're not getting back together. Like, it looks so bad at certain points where you're like, what can rectify this?
Yeah. Like, of course, we saw the Ninth Wonder and Fonte thing, but I didn't know, like, Fonte and Big Pooh, like the fact that he didn't hit him up when Big Pooh had his
blood clot.
Like, I was like, damn, they really wasn't speaking or fucking with each other at that time.
He was like, I didn't think you cared or something.
That
was crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know they had that. You know what I'm saying? We just see the Ninth and Fonte.
I think that part was just a rumor from what I remember. Because there was never any public, like, Fonte hates Pooh, or not hates, but that part was never public from what I remember. They're not speaking.
Yeah,
we don't know
checking
why.
up on them.
Right.
It just, the group wasn't together.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we're not friends.
Right.
But to know they didn't speak for 5 years.
I did not know that. Yeah.
I think that's such a long time not to speak.
Oh, 100%. Especially like no text, no nothing. Like
nothing, bro.
That's a very long time. I think another thing that the documentary did very well, and going back to the production, like the animation, the intensity, right? Like in the what's the word I'm looking for? Not intensity, but suspense, the animosity, you know what I'm saying? All of the very thick parts of emotions. Like I didn't anticipate that. You know what I'm saying? Not to that degree, because I didn't know the tension. That's the word I'm looking for. I didn't know the tension between Ninth, and then the tension between those two got so high, so thick like that. So again, like the animation cut right through that. Like it made it light again.
I remember every time Pooh told that story, I felt it in my bones. I was like, oh, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That shit was funny to me.
See,
I need people to go see that, because that shit was funny.
It wouldn't be funny if you just watch him say it. Like if you just watch him explain what happened in London, it's not funny.
You talking about the part where he told Ninth not to come?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that wasn't funny to me. I was sad,
wasn't funny to
bro.
me either.
Yeah, so
I didn't know that happened.
I didn't either.
Let me tell you.
The animation probably made it that way, but
Kenj is right. People were cracking up at that, right? Like they just found that to be so funny, and I think it's just the faces.
They were laughing, yeah. But I didn't
remember that's weird.
But
I don't even remember the animation.
It's not funny. But the animation's funny.
When Knife was walking off, like all like droopy and stuff, like it was funny, but it wasn't.
But again,
I'm with you. The feeling of it
wasn't
funny.
The tension is real. Even Fonte says, "Oh, having Pooh do this was not the best.
Not the best.
That's not the And obviously, Pooh saying how he felt like Knife never respected him as a peer. That's tension. That's like real tension.
Amplified it.
But having the animation kind of come in for that, I feel like it makes it lighter.
Yeah.
Because it does, like, if that's just a scene in a cartoon, it's funny, right? Like, but it takes it away from it being people's real lives. Like, this is people's real lives. This really happened. And also the animation kind of helped us with stuff that wasn't like archived. So there's no archive footage of certain things. So we wanted to make sure people still had a visual representation of it.
Got you. Like in the dorms and stuff like that. I got you. Yeah.
But I still think that particular scene, I didn't know how people was going to take it. I just knew that was going to be probably one of the more intense moments of the documentary, especially because it represents so much about like the major breakup, the why. There was like whatever wasn't discussed or what wasn't not determined was determined after London.
Yeah, man. Well, when Ninth got that call, bro, he was out of here. I was like, it's a wrap. But I didn't know that at the time. But watching it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's when it happened.
I didn't realize the Jay-Z thing was then. I thought it was after for some reason.
It's so crazy. The timing of it.
It was looking a little bit after the listening.
No, I'm like divinely, the fact that we get the call to go on tour, you get the call from Jay at the same time.
That's crazy.
That is.
I was thinking about the other day, I was like, man, what if that call comes 15 days after they leave on tour? And Knife's on tour, does he end up on the Black Album still? Or if it comes after the tour, they actually do it together, does the group stay together? Right. Like how much of what happened to the group in the long run is based around that being a split? Like that moment being, you're gonna go do this, we're gonna go do that. And it only took 10 shows before they were just like, hey, I don't think this is for him.
I thought that part was interesting because on one breath they were saying like, yo, what we gonna tell you? It's Jay-Z, you know what I'm saying? Go, you need to go do that or whatever. But on the other hand, it was just like, you're not with us. What was that like? Like trying to.
But that to me represents poor communication. We're just not talking. I'm making assumptions about what's best for you, or I'm making assumptions for why you're doing the things that you're doing. I think it's important to kind of show that there was never a dialogue about it. It was just more about like, we do feel like you're the producer, you should go do the thing with Jay-Z. How often is Jay-Z gonna call? But on the flip side, if you don't want to do the tour, don't make us feel like you gonna come out here if you're not gonna come out here. Right. Like we want you to show up. I think it was all about that. Like, how are you showing up in the group? And if you're not gonna show up, we have to be on the road. That's the thing. We didn't get the Jay-Z call. We got the come tour with Hyro call. We're gonna do that. So I think people's objectives were a little different. And again, if we are friends and we are comrades in this thing, we need to discuss, or maybe it would have been great if he would have brought up to you like, hey guys, I'm gonna do this, Jay. I'm gonna fly in. I'm gonna do it. I don't care what y'all say. I'm coming on tour. This is the group. I'm coming here for the group. I feel like not having that energy from him is when they just felt like, oh, he just doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. So they basically didn't anticipate it being going that far.
No.
I got you.
At the time, it felt like, oh, we agreed that you're gonna do
Go
Jay.
Get the look. Yeah.
And then you're gonna come on tour and this is gonna be good. But by the time, again, 10 shows, that's not a lot of time.
Yeah. It's crazy. I never even at least I don't recall, but like thinking the omission of Knife Wonder not at the shows. It never even
dawned on you?
Yeah, dawned on me that like maybe they're not cool. Like I never thought about that because you don't really think about the producer being there with the artist.
Unless he's a DJ. He wasn't really a DJ.
But I think he was. I think he was.
Was he?
Yeah.
He was.
In
Little Brother.
For them, I believe they said that. I mean, you know better than me, but
the performance DJ.
Yeah, when they first got started,
he made beats and he was the DJ for him on stage.
I think the other guy was.
They did shows. Flash comes in and becomes like the touring DJ, but the earlier shows, like earlier LB shows, like Knight was there.
Okay,
he was there. Like even the footage of him like announcing like the Justice League, there's like an archive footage of him behind the boards and they're performing.
Yep.
So that's kind of, but it just didn't last that long because again, like the album's done in 2000, probably 2002, comes out in 2003. We're on tour. Like it happened very immediate. I say it wasn't a lot of time for us to figure out how to change the group. We just kind of moving with what's going on. Like, oh, you with Jay, we need somebody on the boards. I think Big Doe was DJing at one point in time. Flash comes in and DJs. It was just like, who could spin? Who can be on the boards? We have to perform. It wasn't a lot of time of like, we have so much leeway of deciding, okay, how are we gonna make this work? It was about like what works.
Yeah, I've seen Little Brother at this point probably 5 times, and I don't think I've ever seen them with Ninth. I saw them before Minstrel Show and after Minstrel Show. Did not see Ninth. So I just didn't think I didn't know he was a touring DJ like that. I thought he just kind of made the beats. So that's why I thought the story was, well, you're not really Little Brother because we are touring and you're not touring.
I mean, I think a big problem does come in when people expect you to be there, though.
I never did. I think maybe that's just me.
No, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying this. You're saying the same thing. I never expected that.
But I wonder, because they said they were having the most problems with shows overseas. So I wonder if they're looking at it like, oh, Knife Wonder, Little Brother, he must be coming with them. So if you're having issues with booking,
the marketing,
they said that
exactly. Flyers and everything, it has Ninth. I think that's part of this story that is still so intriguing, and it kind of leaves it to be open because of that tension with Ninth Wonder is still there and it's so unresolved. So unresolved. I think you guys did an amazing job of not necessarily painting his own narrative, but keeping it open and letting the watcher, the viewer, the consumer kind of paint the picture. You know what I'm saying? But if he ever decided to talk about it, it's like he could fill in that space.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was really creative, you know what I'm saying? And not trying to paint a negative narrative, but it is what it is.
Once we knew that he would not be a part of it, it didn't change what the story was.
100.
And we wanted to be fair and tell an honest story with him or without him. It didn't matter if he had a perspective in the story, because the story was not going to change. It was going to be what happened. And this was the most honest telling of that. Of course, it would have been nice to have all the members because everyone's alive. That's my main thing. Like, it'd be so hard to do something with the Migos now, right? Because there is no takeoff. It feels like, I feel sad when it comes down to the fact that like everyone's alive. But I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, this feels more like a member is like posthumous, like they're not here to speak versus they're just not responding. And I just thought that, well, that's the best thing we could do then, if make it feel like they are not here to speak.
And that's funny how y'all had the little animation thing. Like y'all reached out to him. Yeah, he didn't choose not to be on it.
One of my favorite things is the timing of that, because it comes so on the back end of the story.
Yep.
It's not at the beginning. So you sort of have a moment where you're like, wait, he hasn't said anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, Holland's crazy for that. He's nuts.
I didn't know going into it that Ninth wasn't involved at all. So watching it, I expected at some point there was gonna be like a little cut with him kind of being like, well, here's my little short perspective or whatever.
Right.
So was it kind of weird, at least for you or maybe some of the other crew? I'm sure Pooh and Fonte were just like, yeah, we're not surprised not involved. But other people in the crew, were y'all like, dang, this is weird?
I think once I knew Tay reached out, that I was just kind of like, so he's going to eventually hit him back, right? And then when I felt like the documentary was still being like a work in progress, it's like, okay, there's still time for this person to come back around. But then we had to reach a point where we were just like, oh, this person's he's not going to be involved.
And he never gave a reason. He was just like, I'm not involved. Oh, wow.
No, it's just no response. Like no response. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's not like, hey man, I'm just not going to do it. Just like
there's no response, period.
Never responded to
nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. And I just respect Pooh and Tay for being so fair still.
Yep.
Not taking that, it being like, oh yeah, now it's like a bash fest.
Right.
We're just gonna sit up here and paint a picture of him that's not true to life. And I think we did a really good job at making sure people understand that he was an instrumental part in providing the sound to Little Brother. They did it together. That the listening Mr. Show, it does not happen without every person that was involved. When it comes to Little Brother, the group, the most involved players were Pooh and Tay.
What's that instrumental part? Do you do that on purpose?
Say what?
He did.
What you mean? What you mean?
You said he was an instrumental part of the thing. I thought you did it on purpose, bro. I thought I was like, okay.
you gotta bring bars to that in hip hop, man. I didn't come empty handed.
Yeah, I get it.
I bar or two.
It turned dark towards the end though, with Fonte's story. So what was the thought process behind that?
What's interesting is like the primary shot of him sitting down. That interview was like 7 hours. That was from like birth to COVID. Like we literally sat him down. I was like, we're gonna talk about everything. He didn't talk about that part that's on the back end about what happened to him. That did not come up in that initial interview. But there was things that we discussed that I could see him be kind of like uncomfortable about. So when we did some pickups, submitted some questions, he opened up about it. And I thought that was something about the long form aspect of journalism that's a documentary, where like you get a chance to talk to people multiple times and get them to open up about things that maybe they didn't say in like A interview, but B interview comes out. And him being so candid about it, we found a place for that, just to show growth and show that that personal work that you're doing in your real life, like it allows you to open up about things. And him being so candid about that, very unexpected, but I think it says a lot about just like his personality and just the work he's been doing since having to sit down in the home and really reflect. They got me credited for story, but I feel like everyone was involved everywhere. But because we were doing rap portraits, we started doing rap portraits in 2020, me and Holland. Us producing this as rap portraits was just like the mini docs we've been doing for the last like 3 years. But doing it on a larger scale, it was a different kind of beast. Zoom calls every week, constant conversations about it. For every interview, we put up questions for every single person. I did multiple interviews. I did like the Dar Adams, I did Ponte, Pooh, Tressie, Nicolay, Big Doe. Probably like somewhere between like 8 or 9 of the interviews we traveled and did those last year. So that was a big part of my year on the LB side of things. But I'm mostly credited for helping put together the story and producing on the rap portrait side. First off, what's crazy is when you understand somebody's story, but also you're gonna have multiple voices. Man, it's like 35 people talking in this documentary. So the first thing to do is figure out what everyone's role in the story is, and then doing the interviews, taking that, like interviews are like 2 hours long. So you're going through 2 hours trying to figure out the bit that's going to help you kind of progress the story. So a big part of it was just like combing through all of this footage, all of these interviews, all these conversations. And then I think it was so funny, Fonte's younger son, when we interviewed his grandma, Fonte's mom, he was like, yo, grandma, they're gonna talk to you for 2 hours just for you to be in the movie for 5 minutes. Yo, when he told her that, I was crying. I was like, why'd you tell her that? But that's really like taking a 2 hour interview and finding like 5 minutes. And I think there was a moment where the doc was a little over 2 hours. Then we had to cut down. It's like you figure out what to put in, and then you got to figure out what you're going to take out. Then you're going to figure out what's missing. Like, okay, or man, like sometimes it was just moving something. The part where Nicolay is in the doc is on like the back end, but at first it was way earlier, and it just made it disjointed. It didn't feel as fluid. So I remember hitting Holland. I was just like, hey, I think we need to move Nicolay here. And he'll hit me back like it's perfect. Like little stuff like that, doing that for like a year, almost 2 years of like that kind of back and forth. Or having the guys call us and be like, hey, I think we need to move this or move that. Something that I wanted in the documentary that didn't make it was I had Pooh answer the question, like, how do you want Fonte to be remembered? And I had Fonte answer the question, how do you want Pooh to be remembered? Very great answers. Could not find a place for it. Could not find a place for it. It just didn't fit.
Well, now you got a place for it. Behind the scenes, director's
cut. We're trying to figure it out because there was a lot of
it sounds like you got a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Man, wait, I got probably more like from like a journalism side. You know, you do an interview with an artist and it's all about condensing an interview into like a profile. But a documentary is a very big profile. It's a lot of canvas to paint on. But you still end up with so much paint at the end of it. And I'll be glad to do some deleted scenes. I got parts that I know that I was like, man, and we would have had 5 more minutes. I would have had that there. I would have had put this there. Like,
you know what you should do? Give it to the donators. Create a video of the behind the scenes, the extra clips. Ooh. And send that to the people that donate.
Yep. That might be tight.
I would donate anyway because I love you. But
if you knew there was a little bit more,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, man, like even the Dart Adams, like I love Dart.
I love Dart, bro.
Was Dart not great?
Man, awesome, bro.
His interview, like he was almost like a rant. Like Dart was just going off.
I believe it. I believe it.
From a historic standpoint, like he really broke it down. I remember talking to Holland. Holland's like, I don't know if he took a breath yet. Like I don't know where's the period, because he just we asked a couple of questions and he was just going.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But once you find the place for it, it feels so good to know like, oh man, not only did he give us like a great interview, he gave us the sound bit for explaining something that's a little bit more complex or music history that some people just do not know. Like having that voice in there, the Dan Charnas breaking down the source, like there's just little moments in it where I'm just like, although this is the little brother story, you get a lot of music, like hip hop history context as well. So you can walk away from this film and look up some of these people, or even like maybe have a respect for the 5 mics in the source, or respect for OK Player and the message boards, even if you wasn't a part of that, what it did for hip hop. Yeah, were y'all on the boards?
A little bit, but
not like
I remember.
that.
Yeah, not like that. Not like
people that were in there heavy, but every once in a while I'll go there. Because I remember all that. And the other thing, I remember that whole Justice League movement, bro. Oh my God, that was so
Sean Don and him,
man. Beautiful times, bro.
See, that was before my time, so I didn't really even know how big the Justice League was. The Joe Scudders, the Sean Dons.
The away team.
I thought it was cool that he listed out who makes up Justice League.
I didn't know Joe Scudder wasn't officially
a member.
I know, that's crazy.
I just automatically assumed.
I did too, because he was so close to him.
Shout out my man Big Doe. Big Doe did not get named in that clip, and he was so hot.
I bet he was.
Because he saw it. And, Doe's in the doc, so I'm always interested for someone who's in the doc to tell me what they think. And Doe was like, they ain't named me in the Justice League. I said they didn't. yo, and Pooh's like, nah, I swear I did. And Holly was like, they did not.
Oh man.
So shout out to my man Doe for sure.
That's dope that they touched on Fonte with foreign exchange.
Yeah,
that was so dope too.
That always got a really big reception.
Yeah.
In the audience for what he did with Nicolay. And Nicolay was very cool. He was probably one of the cooler people that just, his home is cool, his setup is cool, talking to him is cool. I never met nobody.
He was about as cool as I imagined he would be.
You know what I'm saying?
I've never met him before, but he was just as cool.
I've never met someone from the Netherlands. Like, I just would not know what to do if I met somebody. Like, oh yeah, and now he lives in North Carolina. It's so crazy.
That's wild.
The importance of what Fonte saw on the foreign exchange side of things independently. And how that influenced his decision to definitely, I'm never going to a label again.
But it's crazy because seeing them kind of mature and learn how to communicate, he couldn't communicate that well with Big Pooh when he was trying to explain. Like, I'm telling you, like I think if he would have had a better way to communicate that with Big Pooh, I think Big Pooh wouldn't have been on like.
But you got to think about the times too.
I know.
That wasn't a time of independent.
No, like you're not on a label,
right? Like what?
Yeah.
He had a lot of foresight to do that.
Docs like this, man, I love it when you can really see, the growth, ups and downs. It ain't, just because it's a documentary, it ain't gonna be showing all the glitz and the happiness. Like, you see the ups and downs from these guys throughout their whole entire 20-year career, man. So yeah, I thought the documentary was beautiful.
Thank you, brother.
Likewise, man. And this is coming from somebody, a documentarian. Like, I've done a few. So yeah, man, I definitely was very impressed with what y'all did on here. And that's why I was asking about the story element, because I know trying to put together a story for a documentary can be kind of, especially when you got so many people involved, so much footage. That's super taxing. Like, and I understand why it took a year. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely a lot of respect. Just from a filmmaker, man. Just like, I was very, very impressed with what y'all did, man.
Appreciate that, man.
It was really, really, really dope. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, man. I've been telling people about it. Like Myke said, it's not just LB fans. I tell anybody because it's just a good story, and the way y'all told it was good. So. Nah, man, like, for real, good job. Good job on it. To all of y'all, you know what I'm saying? I know you said
I gotta make sure I'm gonna shout out all the guys, because it was like a group effort. Everyone put in the hours. I think it's a great experience when there's not too many cooks in the kitchen, where you feel like everybody's at their station and you get a chance to have room to do what you're here to do, but then you also have somebody come over your shoulder, be like, oh, throw some spice in there, or throw this in there, throw that in there, and you walk away feeling like, okay, we presented a good meal because everybody could perform their role.
Yeah, man. I mean, it took me down memory lane, bro. I just never imagined, just discovering, these tapes or them, and listen to them, that I would be here in this moment, get a chance to see this story fully flushed out. That has a opening, a tragic middle, and then this conclusion that's not completely, a happy ending, but, it's an ending nevertheless. And I think the biggest thing, bro, I got to ask you, did you ever imagine all those years ago we were running to each other at A3C that you would be doing this right now, bro?
No,
that is insane.
I just had that thought. Like, literally, I was like, yo, how do I know these guys again? Oh, just being at A3C, talking shit in the back of some room.
This is some random room, bro.
I'm here talking about a film I helped create. Like, that's crazy.
That's a hell of a journey, too.
I would have never thought that this was the direction of my life. But I'm so glad. Again, this is like my 160 Park. Like, I come on here to premiere something. Like, that's what this is for me. So to be able to come for this and like,
I'm so proud of you, bro. Like, for real. I remember those days. I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, I just remember like that moment after when I got home, and I was like, man, I'm just like so proud of he's doing what he's loved to do. That shit, yeah, man, you make me proud, bro. For real.
I felt that.
And one thing I don't think we ever mentioned is like, you wrote for us. You used to write on the Dead and Hip Hop site. Like, I know we talk about you being on the show, but like, you were a writer for us. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, like, y'all growth is to me is crazy.
The only writer we still keep in touch with.
But I always respected the fact that y'all had the foresight of what podcasting could be. You know what I'm saying? I think last time I talked to Ken, I was like, yo, give y'all flowers because everybody got mics now. But like when I met y'all, like YouTube hip hop podcasting, that was not a thing. Like I think you had some of the bigger players, the Combat Jacks, but people doing it with guys that wasn't like in the industry, like literally just had a passion and love for music and could sit up and talk about it for hours. Like, bro, I wasn't seeing that online. Even when I saw y'all at fucking A3C, it's just like they move as a group. You bump into one, you bump into them all, you got to debate everybody. Like, wow. Wow. It felt good to know people like you guys were doing it in Atlanta too. You know, we get overlooked, still get overlooked in hip hop, but to know that this was a place where you can hear perspectives like you guys, I thought was just always incredible. And I'm still glad y'all still doing it. So many people just move on and do other things, but I'm glad you guys kind of like stuck with it. And again, for me to even come here today after, I think last time I was here was 2019, and now, you know, I'm always trying to bring something new. You know,
you do.
If I get a chance,
last time I talked to you, you were cooking on something. Bro.
Yeah, man, I always got something cooking.
So that's dope, man.
The next one I gotta come back for is gonna be.
I know. Well,
it's gonna be something. I got a couple things up my sleeve, man. I still got some surprises.
You know where to come, bro.
Yeah, y'all ain't moved. That's good too. That's good to know. You know, some folks they change their phone numbers and their addresses. Can't find them.
I'm gonna share in the big. Proud Ken moment, you know what I'm saying? I'm definitely proud of you too, bro.
Thank you, brother.
You know, I think success is always just living your passions. You know what I'm saying? You doing that, you exemplify that. But, you know, before we had started with the official rolling and recording, we talked a little bit about YouTube, and I definitely want to like end there with my questions for you. But, you know, you kind of put your nose up like as to putting it on YouTube, rolling it out on YouTube. Obviously, that's the space that, you know, we grew up in. So why did you feel that type of way? And also, you said that you didn't feel that you were going to do the numbers that you did. So kind of two-part question. Why did you feel about going on YouTube, and what do you think contributed to getting that 85K in the first week?
I think when you think about where you put movies at, right? You think about the Netflix, the Hulus, the HBO Maxes, like the platforms for films, or kind of like those subscription-based apps. We thought we were making a movie. Put movies where movies are. You put a movie in a movie theater. You put a movie on the platforms where films are. Everything's on YouTube. There's a documentary, a little brother documentary that someone put together based off of like clips and sound bites and tweets and stuff. And like you kind of think about that as like your documentary you might watch on YouTube. It's like a montage, not necessarily like a sit down interview, a fully produced film. So I think at first it just kind of made me think like, well, this is not where movies go. And then we kind of kept talking about like the independence of YouTube and like how we're able to kind of keep control and keep our ownership. There was a moment where Fonte was talking about like, man, making this documentary gave him deja vu of making the listening. He said, I don't want to look up in 10 years, be fighting for my masters again. And I was like, well, yeah, you know what? That makes a lot of sense to me. I don't want to be fighting for my masters neither. So YouTube just became the idea for us to just have it as accessible as possible. You can share it. If you got Wi-Fi, you can watch it. There's nothing that kind of negates you from being able to have access to this film. And I think that also contributes to the viewership, is that, yo, anyone can watch it. Like you said, you can share it with people and you know they can watch it on YouTube. So I gotta put some respect on YouTube's name, because it's the quality of your product. It's not necessarily where it lives, it's the quality of the product, and being able to have people receive it is, I think, paramount. Don't you want people to watch something that you made? It doesn't matter where it's at. And then it's just, I think people love LB. We dropped during Black Friday where, you know, people are at home. We talked about this, like people are already shopping. People on the internet, Cyber Mondays, it seems like the internet is going to be full of people. So why not drop a documentary for them to watch? And it just kind of worked out in our favor.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is I'll repeat, man, it's a beautiful, beautiful film.
Thank you, brother.
Even if I didn't give two shits about Little Brother, I think this would be an entertaining watch. Like I genuinely felt like I was watching a movie. Because I love Little Brother, I was interested in those minute details. But again, I have close friends that hit me up about this that were not Little Brother fans. They're like, I feel like this might be something you would like. And I was like, oh, you'd be right. You know, but yeah, man, I think y'all did an amazing job.
Thank you, brother.
And I'm very, very, very interested to see whatever you have coming up next. But yeah, man, I'm honored to know you.
Thank you, brother.
And to be able to say, like, I know the guy that was involved in that shit. The one that says, what's your name?
Yo,
right. I know that dude.
That is like,
that shit was funny.
That's gonna be like a life highlight of mine forever. The moment it happened, Fonte knew that's how the film gonna start.
Yeah.
He just knew it.
Yep.
And to your point about, even if you didn't necessarily care about Little Brother, we've had people at the screenings that were just like, my friend brought me.
Right.
That I just had no idea who this group was, and they walked away wanting to know more.
Yep.
And that was also a bit intentional. We didn't want to just make a documentary for fans where we just cover the music and the making of, but we wanted to give people a story that kind of transcends just about like, oh, I like this group because they're musicians. Like, no, these are two men who have gone through a great deal. So yeah, you get a chance to know who Thomas is, you get a chance to know who Ponte is, and you get a chance to know that they made a group together that means a lot to a lot of people.
An amazing job, brother. Everything, it was dope.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, everything, bro. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I mean, look,
it's gonna be in my collection.
Even if you didn't invite me on the show, if y'all would have watched it, it would have been like, that's okay, yo. I'm just glad that I'm just glad to be able to fellowship with you guys about something that we made, because you know, when you make something, you don't know how it's going to be received. You don't know how people are going to watch it. And I think that's also why, like, I wasn't really thinking about views. I was thinking about, like, who am I going to talk about this with after it comes out? Because that's what's going to matter to me. Like, I value the conversations. And just being able to do this just let me know that, like, we made something.
Good job.
Yeah, no, man, beautiful job. But you guys know what it is, man. The conversation after the conversation is in that comment section. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.